Welcome back, viewers at home. You're joining me right now with our current affairs segment. I believe that the growth of Chinese electric vehicles has been nothing short of phenomenal, with the success of the Build Your Dream electric vehicle company, BYD, in both China and overseas markets. Speaking on the sidelines of the ongoing FOCAC China-Africa Summit, South Africa's Trade and Industry Minister Pak Stau has announced that talks are progressing over the possible investment by BYD into South Africa. Now, the big question is South Africa ready to take the leap into the electronic vehicle market? I am joined now by Eric Wiebols from My Generation Solar to unpack what electrical vehicles will mean for the South African market. Good evening, Eric, and thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Now, South Africa only published its white paper on electric vehicles in January, and we are quite behind the rest of the world. Are you confident that South Africa is now ready to join the movement to electric-powered cars?
Well, my view is I've been driving electric vehicles since about 2013, and once you experience them, it is just a better way to drive. I mean, no rational person, if given the choice and the right price, would ever choose a petrol vehicle. South Africa's a bit behind. Our charging system is not yet developed, but that's a chicken and egg situation. You first need the vehicles before people will invest heavily in a charging network. So I do believe we will, and I think we probably will leapfrog a lot of other countries, because by the time electric vehicles get here, they're getting here now, but by the middle of next year, we'll have very, very high quality, affordable, especially Chinese vehicles like BYDs, available to the general public.
Just to extend on that question with regards to, crime in South Africa and the many incidents that we can look into, would you say that it is as positive as it seems?
Absolutely. I mean, the funny thing in the solar business, being in the solar business, I see the exposure to the electrification of everything. And although residential installs have dropped off quite a lot, industrial installs have picked up. So energy security is no longer a big issue. So I think we on a very good wicket in South Africa in general, and Joburg in particular, at the rate that solar's going in. I think this is a very, very good thing for us. And, people are going to drive cars whether there's crime or not. And quite frankly, it's a far better driving experience, and it's very good for our economy. And obviously there's all the benefits for the environment and all the rest of it. But primarily people aren't going to buy electric cars for the environment. They're going to buy electric cars because they're better. And as long as they're better, that's what's going to drive the market. And I think it's very, very positive. And as much as people are negative about the fact that, there's no power, that's actually not the case anymore. And I think the rate at which solar has been installed, electric vehicles will have enough power to be charged no problem from the grid in the future.
Now, I'm seeing here import duties for electric vehicles is quite high. Just looking at the fact that, in South Africa, I want to know, are we to expect some of these tariffs to become lower, or we need to now move with the program?
I absolutely think they have to drop the tariffs. It's silly where it's the future technology, it's where we're going to go, and they get penalized. I think the tariffs are in and around 25 to 27% in total, which is a big hit on the price of electric cars. So, for instance, BYD have a very nice vehicle called the Atto 3, which it's a full, almost double the price it is in China and South Africa. Now, if that car was available at 30 to 40% discount, I don't believe anybody would be buying petrol vehicles, because you have a vehicle that is basically maintenance free, almost free to charge and drive. So yeah, I do see these vehicles becoming the way forward. And I think the import duties are silly, because we should really be looking to develop this industry. It's something that South Africa could leapfrog, a bit like cell phones. When cell phones came to South Africa, we weren't the first country, but we leapfrogged the landline technology and became one of the biggest adopters in a very, very short period of time. I think that is quite possible in the electric vehicle market if government just gets out of the way and allows the industry to flourish. I don't even think we need necessarily tax support or brakes. The technology is mature enough and it's better. Just let it run and let those people who are going to support it. And I mean, if you really want to develop Eskom, for instance, and get it to run properly, electric vehicles is actually a massive opportunity if we get the right leadership and it's probably the only thing that will save the grid, in my view, is the reindustrialization of our industrial areas and electric vehicles.
I like how you actually brought in the idea on, because I had a question with regards to the collapse of the grid come in the introduction of the electrical vehicles within the market, but I believe you just answered it quite remarkably. Just moving on, how should the government give incentives for owning an electric car to encourage the move to electrical vehicles?
Well, I personally don't believe in giving, breaks, tax breaks, or incentives. I think the market is strong enough on its own. I think all the government's got to do is allow electricity to be economically priced, because at the moment we've got huge control over the pricing of energy and electricity. If you price electricity correctly, you'll find that, I predict in the next 18 months to 3 years, power during the day when there's lots of sun will essentially be free. We've got cases where in certain parts of the US, they actually pay you to use power at certain times of the day. Now imagine you've got an electric vehicle where the government pays you to charge your car 3 to 4 hours a day. And I believe we're 18 months to 3 years away from that. Most of the solar systems we install overproduce power. They have massive excess capacity between 10 and 2 during the day. Now, the biggest batteries the average house has got a 30 or at most a 30 to 40 kilowatt hour battery. That's a big battery. Even the smallest full electric vehicle has a 50 to 80 kilowatt hour battery. My electric car is a 109 kilowatt hour battery. So I'm driving around in this very, very massive energy store that excess power could be put into. And already, Eskom has got a slight oversupply, and that's only going to become greater as we move forward with large solar projects. So it is a massive opportunity if the right attitude is taken and we price energy correctly, basically having an open market for energy and not allowing to be controlled by any of the major players. Then it'd be a free market environment.
Now, with not much insight when it comes to the announcement made by Minister Pakstow with BYD, what would a good investment look like to you if you were to build this industry as well as protect jobs, if not even like create a bigger market for your employment?
Yeah, so I think electric vehicles are very different to a regular combustion engine. So I don't see the legacy automakers having a role here unless I think they're probably too late to save them. But companies like BYD are very forward looking. So I don't think they necessarily need tax encouragement. I think the government's just got to provide the opportunity, because I do believe if they're to build a factory, I know Haval's got a factory in Kucha that hasn't yet, it's been commissioned, but it's not yet rolling. And we would be the gateway, in my view, for electric vehicles into Africa. And one of the things that they will need to make localized versions of vehicles. All the electric, all the car manufacturers in the past have built vehicles especially for the African conditions. And I think we've got a massive opportunity to get that right, but it requires it requires a different form of thinking, an open mind, and thinking about things for African conditions. And I think there's a massive opportunity. And I do believe the Chinese would be better partners for us than legacy car makers, because legacy car makers are very dictatorial. The Chinese are looking for markets, and they've got the technology and they've got the capital. So I think it's a huge opportunity. And I would just encourage people to go and test drive an electric vehicle, because most people have got funny ideas that they can't go very far. They're not very fast. They're basically golf carts that couldn't be further from the truth. So I think it's a huge opportunity, and we need to view it as such. And I don't think you'll ever meet someone who either owns or has driven an electric vehicle that would ever want to go back to old technology. So I just truly said it's a massive opportunity, and we need to treat it as such.
Now, Eric, as we conclude our conversation, I'd just like to ask you, is there anything that you would like for our viewers to take home when it comes to our conversation tonight?
Well, I would just say, forget everything you've been told about electric vehicles. Go and have a drive of any one of them, and don't dismiss particularly the Chinese vehicles. So I happen to own a BMW electric vehicle, and it's a very, very nice car. But for the value, I think you get far better value from the Chinese vehicles like BYD, GWM. They make incredible cars, and they're bringing a lot of them here. And I think the future sits with Chinese manufacturers. So don't close your mind, go and test drive, and then think about owning a very big battery that can both power your house and run your car. So it's a massive opportunity. It really is.
Thank you so much, Eric, for joining us this evening and just giving us insight in terms of understanding what it would mean for electrical vehicles to be penetrating the South African economy.
Thanks very much for your time. Pleasure.
Viewers at home, that was my guest this evening, giving us insights on all things electrical vehicle, with his message this evening to say, go and try it out yourself and see what it offers you. And that's where we close it off for tonight. Let's head over to an ad break. See you when we come back.